Good evening, everybody, and welcome to ClausenWorld. I just finished wrapping up my work day, worked inside the house today, and I couldn't wait to come on and let you guys know that I have been thinking about getting out in the garden all day, since over there is the garden, and I've had a chance to look at it all day. So yes, I'm excited. And we are going to do something with these in the garden today. Now, if you haven't seen previous videos of others who use those for the very same purpose I'm going to use them for, then I'm going to tell you what we're going to do with those cups. I'm going to take longer clippings off of my Meyer lemon tree, and I'm going to bring them in and try to root them inside the indoor greenhouse. The previous cuttings were too short, and the soil mixture didn't work, so they didn't survive. But I'm not defeated. We're gonna try this again. Baby girl is being rude. Did y'all hear that? She's knocking at the door. She's tapping at the door. She wants to come in. I just cannot get a break with that kid. So join me in the garden. We're first gonna start out in the shed. And the shed is where everything garden resides. I just recently picked up a bag of perlite because I did not have any of that. So we're going to mix up some perlite as well as some coconut coir and some worm castings, and we're going to make our soil mixture for our lemon cuttings. So I've already pre-mixed in this bag right here some coconut coir as well as some worm castings. So I'm just going to go in there, and there's also some vermiculite in here as well, because I was planning on using this coconut coir for a seed starting mix. So I'm just going to take a couple of cupfuls, probably just 4. And if I need more, then I will make more. You know what? I'm going to make more anyway, so I don't have to make more. I'd rather have more than enough than not enough. So I'm just going to put a few more cups in there because I plan on making more cuttings. So I'd rather have more than enough than not enough. All right. So that is coconut coir, worm castings, and I totally forgot that I put some vermiculite in here. I realized that when I opened it up. So I'm just going to close that up. Now we're going to take the scissors, and I'm very disappointed in this bag. It would be nice to have a bag that actually had a close on it, like a little seal, like the majority of these up here, but it does not. So that's one of the reasons why I keep bags and reuse just for this purpose. So I am just going to cut a corner of this bag off. I'm sorry you guys didn't see that. I took the scissors and I just cut the corner of the bag off like that. Now I'm going to put my scissors back, and you know what? I'm going to make this hole a little bit bigger so I can actually put my hand in there, because I want to get a handful of this and show you what it looks like. And what I'll do is I will just pour this perlite into another bag so that I can seal it back up and it doesn't fall out all over the place. But this is what perlite looks like if you've never seen it. And I'm just going to put it inside of this bucket that I have here. I'm just going to mix it in. That's the one reason why I don't like perlite, is that it is dusty. Very dusty. I don't like having dust particles of different things floating in the air and me possibly breathing them in. So I am just mixing this up, and I'm going to show you what it looks like as soon as I get it mixed up to what I think the proper ratio is supposed to be. I'm going to put a little bit more. And if you're not quite sure, try not to let that bag spill. If you're not quite sure what the use of perlite is, it's good for seed germination. It's good for rooting your cuttings. It helps to make sure that the moisture stays in the soil, but doesn't allow rot of those cuttings. It's also good for hydroponics, I believe. I'm not into hydroponics, so I'm not 100% sure, but I've heard that. So, excuse me, dust. So if you're interested in that, then you might want to look into that. Excuse me. Okay, I'm mixing it around. I think I need a little bit more. I think I need a little bit more perlite, just a little bit more. I feel like I'm cooking. I'm always cooking when I'm using vermiculite, perlite, or anything else when it comes to soil. Put that right there so it doesn't fall over. All right, and I think this is the perfect mixture, and I'm going to show you all what it looks like in just a moment. Let's see. Okay. There we are. Uh-oh. There we go. And I am going to fill my cups up with this mixture. And then I'm going to moisten it because I want to make sure that I put my clippings in very moist soil medium. You never want to put your clippings in a dry medium, excuse me, and then water it in. So I'm going to get some rainwater and I'm going to moisten this up. If you saw in my video yesterday, I talked about how it had been raining off and on. And as you can see, both of my rain collection barrels are full all the way to the top. So I'm going to drain some of this water off, because if you leave water on the top of your rain collection barrels like this, mosquitoes will lay their larvae in there, or they'll lay their eggs and it will hatch into larvae. So I like to keep mine low to where you cannot see water. Even in the center, you can't see any water. So I'm going to move you guys down a little bit. Let's see if you guys can see. Now I do have a leaf right there, so it's slightly in the way. Let's see if I can move you guys up a little bit. There we go. So I am just going to turn on the tap and put some water in there, and I'm going to get this really, really moist as I can get it. Not too soupy wet, but I'm going to play it by ear. You know how I do it. I'm just going to mix it up, and once it begins to look like it's the right consistency, then I know it's good. It's like baking, cooking in general. If you're from the era like myself, or you grew up with family members who didn't really use the recipe, they just kind of knew it. It was in their heads, and they would do a pinch of this and a handful of that, you know. All right, I'm gonna put a little bit more water. There we go. I hope my head is not in the way. And I'm just using my plastic trowel just to stir this up. Just like so. And it's not too overly soupy, but it's just enough water in here for all of these ingredients to actually soak it up. All right. Now let's go over to the lemon tree and let's get some clippings. This is my lemon tree. I don't know if you all remember from my very first video, not my trailer, my very first video, I showed you guys my lemon tree. This lemon tree, I've had it for almost 2 years. I got it last spring, not this spring, last spring. So I took it in the house this last fall, and it lost every single solitary leaf. I mean, it was naked. So I brought it back out early spring. I took it out of the pot.
I refreshed the soil a little bit, gave it some fertilizer. I invigorated the root ball by clipping off some of the roots. I put it back in the same pot and put more soil on top of it, and I watered it in, and I've left it kind of shaded in this corner in between. The heuchera is right here. This is the wisteria, and over here is my water barrel. And there's a stand right here with all my herbs and some flowers. So it's been sitting in here all season, spring and now summer. And I don't know if you can see, but it has a lot of beautiful young leaves on them. This entire limb is brand new. There are more brand new limbs down further. Let me give you guys a better view of it. Let's see. I'm trying to move the camera. See, there are new limbs. There are 2 new limbs here, and I gave it a pretty good, decent trim back. Any limbs that were crossing, I cut those out in that first video. So everything you see here should only be limbs that are good to grow on without there being any crossing. So I've already taken a look at the lemon tree, and I already know which limbs I want to cut off. There's one in the back that actually has split into 2 sections. Pull you guys up like that and I'll show it to you. And so I'm going to be taking this limb off, and now I'm going to make 2 lemon trees out of that limb. Now I do have more I could trim off, and I might do that. I could take this one as well. I've got about maybe 4 limbs I could take off just to round it out and to make some more trees, because I could sell them. But for right now, I'm going to do this as an experiment, and if this works, then I will be taking more limbs off of this tree. So let me take this limb. And remember, if you're not familiar with lemon trees have thorns. They have really powerful thorns, and they are not forgiving, and they will tear hold of you quick if you're not careful. So I'm just gonna cut that. Now, I should have told you guys beforehand, but I cleaned off my shears. I made sure that they were clean and disinfected before I cut my lemon cutting. So let's take this cutting, and as you can see, it has 2 branches there. Can you guys see that? It's got 2 branches, this one and this one. So I'm going to take this and turn this into 2 lemon trees. So let's go over to the table and do that. What I have on the table here to help me turn this lemon clipping into a lemon tree are my shears, my rooting powder. I have a pencil to make a hole inside of the cup. I have some scissors, my gloves, of course. I have my soil mixture, and I have my cups. Now I know my cups look really weird, but when I went to Walmart, my shelf was bare in the area where you have the cups and the plates, the disposable cutlery. All that was kind of bare. So the only thing I could get were these cups, and the clear ones are bigger than the red ones. But I am not going to despair behind that. I had a package come in today, and it was wrapped in like a waterproof paper. So I took that and I lined it. I laid it around the top of this cup. And because I rarely ever do this, I made a point to do it today. And I wrote Meyer lemon, because that's what this clipping is. And I wrote today's date on it. And so this is still going to work. I'm still going to be able to use it as a watering reservoir from the bottom. I'll still be able to peek and see. And once those roots get to a certain length, they will go down into the bottom of the cup and search for that water. So everything will be okay. You have to use what you have available to you, and unfortunately the Walmart that I went to, the shelves were crazy bare. Now I want to hurry up and get this done because I've already cut this limb, and we do not want this limb to lose water and die. So what you do is, hopefully you have cups 2 of the same size, but I do not. You take your clear cup and you just cut 2 holes on each side. So you just take it like this. I hope you guys can see. And you just clip the end off like that and make a little hole, and that's for your drainage. Do the same thing on the other side. Second drainage. All right. Put my fancy shears away. This was a gift because I always can't either find my shears, or I've done something to them and ruined them. So I was gifted a pair of shears. I'm very thankful. And oh, by the way, comes with a sharpener. So I'm really glad that I was able to get a gifted pair of shears. All right, so I'm going to take my soil, move my lemon over like that. And I'm going to take my soil and I'm going to fill my cup up with this very moist soil. It's been sitting here. The water has begun to sink into this soil mixture. It doesn't have as much water sitting at the bottom. If you're new to my channel, I do apologize for my neighbor's dogs. They're lonely little creatures. They sit outside the better part of the day and half of the night. So anybody that walks by that they're not familiar with, they will bark. All right, so you just fill your cup up and I'm just gonna shake it. And if you see that water is draining out the bottom, so you know that the soil is nice and moist. I'm gonna put a little bit more in there. I got quiet for a second because my neighbor either heard me or saw that I was looking in his direction and he took his dogs inside the house. Poor dears. Okay, so what I did was I just added soil till about, till about right about here. Roughly right about there. A little over a half. Okay, so now I'm just going to place that inside that red cup and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Now I've already cut holes in this cup, so I don't need to cut holes in this one. I was just showing you guys how to cut the holes. So that was 2 scoops and I'm just shaking the soil so that it falls down and kind of sort of compacts. There we go. And you see the soil, you can see it, and it's actually draining out, which is good. All right, I'm going to take my trowel and kind of level it out a little bit. And I'm going to take a little bit of the soil out of here because I think I got a little bit too much. And if you have a little bit more than that, that's fine. I mean, there's no science to it. All right, so I've got roughly the same amount of soil in this cup. Now, here is where the fun begins. I'm going to move my soil bucket out of the way. Open up my rooting hormone. Now you can use whatever kind of rooting hormone you have. You can use cinnamon, you can use honey. I just so happen to have this. I'm not promoting it, it's just what I happen to have. All right, now here's my cutting. You can see it's branched off into like a Y. I'm going to take this part here, this Y piece, and I'm going to cut it as close as I can to the stem. And I'm going to cut off these lower limbs because you don't need these, and it's going to draw energy away from the rooting. I'm going to take them all the way back to about 3, just like that. Now these limbs are pretty big, so I'm going to cut these limbs in half like that, and maybe I will do this one too. There we go. Now, I'm going to take my shears and I'm just going to score a little bit of the bottom of that limb, just like that. See that? Now I'm going to stick that into the rooting hormone. Now, you're supposed to take the rooting hormone out, place it in a different type of container and not dip your whatever you're trying to root inside of it. But yeah, this is how I do it. It could be wrong. That's just how I do it. And I'm trying to make sure that I get all that Cambium layer covered. And so I just kind of tapped it off a little bit. Now this is where my pencil comes in handy. I stick my pencil in here, or I stick it in here, and I make a hole, just like so. And I think I might have made my hole too deep, so I'm going to do it over, just so that you guys can see that stuff happens. Even in my garden, stuff happens. All right, so I pushed the soil back over top, pressed it in. Now I'm going to make a hole again. I don't want to make it too deep. I don't want to go all the way to the bottom. But I want to make a hole big enough. Uh-oh. See? Look at it. Stuff happens. It toppled over. Let me take it out of this cup. It's that cup. The cup is the problem. All right. Make the hole. Place your cutting inside the hole, trying not to hit the hole so that you knock off your rooting hormone. And then you just pack that soil around that clipping, just like so. And I don't want to get too much soil on my hands. Y'all know me and my hands. And I'm just going to press it down just like that so that it has some stability and it's not going to fall over. All right. And as I press it down, some of the water is running out of the cup. So that's nice and moist. And I'm not going to water this. I'm going to just keep an eye on it. And I'm definitely not going to water from the top. I'll water it from the bottom when it needs water. But for right now, I'm going to put this in an indoor greenhouse and see if this will root. And then I will just take a look and peek and see. I'll be able to now see roots forming by being able to look through. So I'm going to do the same thing with this clipping. And hopefully I won't jack it up and make a mess. But there's no guarantee. This is real gardening. And sometimes mistakes happen. So I am going to take this clipping, and I should cut it down, but I like to experiment, so I'm not going to cut it down. I'm going to leave it this long and see if I can get it to grow, will root for me. It's asking a lot of it, but I'm going to see. There we go. Take it down, take it down. And I'm going to take off that one too. Why not? Now, I'm going to leave all of these, but I'm going to cut them because this is a really long. And since this has been sitting out of the soil for a little bit, or this has been off the plant for a little bit, it's dry. So I'm going to cut this right above that node, just like that. I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to scrape it with my shears down to the cambium layer. And that means down to the, for some, the green meat, the white meat. Just scrape it like that. And then I'm going to stick it in to the rooting hormone. I hope you guys can see that. Put it in the rooting hormone. Make sure that gets covered. I'm going to dust it off. Take my pencil. Make a hole in the soil like so. See, this one was a lot simpler. And gently put my clipping into that soil. And then I'm going to take my gloved hand, because you know that's how I do it. And I'm going to press that soil mixture around that clipping to firm it in so it doesn't fall over. Just like so. And I'm hoping that this time I will get 2 new lemon trees. So I will come back later on in a couple of weeks, and I will reveal by moving the cup and showing you guys if there are any roots in there. But for right now, we're going to put these in the greenhouse and let them be. And I'm going to clean up after myself because I made a little bit of a mess. Now, when I say clean up after myself, I mean these leaves are going to go into the compost bin. Very little goes into the actual municipal trash in my yard. So this is going to go in the compost bin. And the bloody squirrel has been digging in my pots again. And so it's been disrupting dirt everywhere. And I have shells on the ground that it buried in my pots from either pecan. I think this looks like an actual baby pecan. So it's been unearthing in my garden again. So I'm going to pick these up, and these are also going to go in the compost bin. As you can see, I still have water, which I have to drain out, but I'm losing light. So for the meantime, I'm going to put some mosquito bits in areas where I have water. I'm going to grab some gloves and use my gloved hand to spread some mosquito bits in some other areas that I have some stagnant water. I have some plants over here The the squirrel. I know every time I talk about that squirrel, I just get so angry. But the squirrel, of course, has been out and it has been digging everywhere. It was in my ginger, it was in my turmeric. It's just a menace. I had to scare it out of the bird bath this morning because it was just sitting on top of the bird bath. Over here, there is a very large container down there. You can see the ends of it. It's a metal, it's like a big metal box. And the rain was so heavy that it is full of water. So I am just going to put some mosquito bits down there in that water in the hopes that no mosquitoes are trying to lay their rotten little mosquito babies in all that water. There's just so much water and it's so heavy, I'm not going to be able to try and turn it over, but that's okay. It's actually feeding all the plants that's sitting into it. But yeah, just trying to get mosquito bits in all the water to make sure that the few mosquitoes that I see, and I only see like maybe three, that they're not attacking. Okay, almost done. Look, guys, I missed the bloom. I'm so angry with myself, but it's been raining, so I wasn't out here. But I want to show you guys what I saw. Look at that. That is indeed a giant moonflower that has bloomed. And the other one has bloomed as well, and it has shriveled up. I can see it all the way down there. So I'm hoping, there's so many more in here, but I don't see any flowers on them. Look at that, guys. Can you guys see that? Oh my gosh, let me move it over so you guys can see. Look at that, guys. Absolutely beautiful. And it should open up this evening. Look at that beauty. Oh, I wish I could get it up. I wish I had the ability to get it like a time lapse so I could see it open. But that's the third one that's opened, and it is absolutely beautiful. Oh wow, I'm so excited. Finally have a beautiful big white flower. Absolutely gorgeous. It's straight up 9 o'clock, and as much as I would like to stay out in the garden, it's best that I go in the house because I'm hearing all kind of crazy noises, and I think I might have saw a bat, and that's the one thing I do not like. I have a bat story, and I'm just not a fan of bats. So yeah, I'm going inside now, but I wanted to show you guys the quick haul that I was able to pull off of the squash plant. Some of them are small, but that's okay. Good enough for a quick meal. So until the next video, happy gardening to you. Be safe. This is the largest harvest I've had of squash so far. I think is the mate to the yellow bird I showed you a few videos ago.